Yo, Still Bills, what's the deal, man? Yo, I'm at my son's football practice, man. I got a little bit of time to kill, at least almost an hour or so before we peace out and go back home, man. But peep game, man, we gotta get into this shit, man. That shit is if Canelo Alvarez is showing signs of slippage and regression, man. I haven't watched the fight yet, man. I really want to. I'm gonna dive into that shit sometime this week. I really am, because I just, I'm a fan of the dude. I'm a fan of Canelo, and I want to see how he looked, and I also want to see how John Ryder looked. I'm not a big fan of John Ryder, man, but I appreciate his work ethic. I appreciate his grit to get in the ring and run that shit with any and everybody, man. So I want to watch the fight, man. But I'm hearing a lot of people say because he didn't go in there and iron dude out, that he's showing signs of slippage, and he got hit a little too much, so he's showing signs of slippage. And I'm like this, man. All right, cool. Let's say he is showing signs of slippage, man, because they were saying that about Bud as well when he fought David Avanesian. David Avanesian, allegedly had Bud looking vulnerable and all this and all that. My thing is this, man. When it comes to those two in particular, because they were both tune-up fights. Now, keep in mind, those were top. David Avanesian was a legitimate top 10 opponent at welterweight. John Ryder was a legitimate top 3 opponent at super middleweight. A mandatory. They were both mandatories, man. And you just sit back and just really analyze the gap in between those two and their opponents. Where you've ascended to a certain height, and just have this ascended level of talent about you that you completely just domineer over people who work their entire careers, their entire life, just to be gatekeepers, let alone a top 10 opponent or a top 5 or top 3 opponent. What does that say about the level of talent that resides within those two, man? John Ryder is, I think he's number 3. Right? He before Saturday, he was number 3 in the division. Canelo's the champion. He's only champion in the division, which would mean there's only one fighter that stands between Canelo's ranking and his ranking. And he went in there and he beat the ever living shit out of that dude. I don't think people understand how drastic that is, how drastic of a feat that is for somebody to be that much better, just better than you, that you're expected to go in there and just knock this dude out and just, it shouldn't be any competition to you. In most situations, they're gonna be able to give you some sort of resistance. A Mando is supposed to be able to give you some sort of resistance, man. So this just speaks to the talent gap between Canelo and everybody else in the division. So where even if Canelo is showing signs of slippage and regression, he's that much further ahead of these dudes to where, like Cannabis said, my intelligence begins where yours peaks at. You know what I'm saying? So even look at like Floyd and B-Hop. When they stop becoming the offensive juggernauts that they once were once upon a time, with the the volume punching and the hard thudding shots that they land. When they stopped becoming that, they've been through enough wars and fought through enough high quality opposition to where they developed the talent. Not the talent, but the boxing brain to be able to catch somebody, capitalize on somebody's mistakes right off the rip. You know what I'm saying? And punish them for it. It doesn't take 5 rounds to download what it is that they do, or they're just that versed in what it. Like when you look at B-Hop was able, when a fighter would come out guns blazing, he was so poised in the pocket to where you're not hitting nothing but arm and shoulder and back. No scoring shots. Everything you're landing is landing where it doesn't count. It doesn't matter if it lands. It's not like the shot is selling around the guard or splitting the guard or anything like that. You're catching all glove, or you're catching all arm or shoulder. and that will eventually dissipate the energy of the fight and dissipate the activity of that fighter, so he can go and start imposing his will, landing those sneaky jabs in there, wrapping you up in the clinch, hitting you on the thigh, and just really doing that extra out shit, being able to counterpunch effectively. It's intellect, it's IQ, being a quality operator in the ring, you know, gaining a certain level of savvy about them, to where I don't need to rely on athleticism to beat you. I'm not the fighter that I once was. That's how B-Hop was able to be the oldest champion in the sport of the division, in the history of the sport. That's how Floyd was able to maintain his undefeated record, preserve his O, and go on to be, you know, in his late 30s, still dominating dudes in their prime. That's how he was able to beat Canelo. So you got to look at the gap in talent between Canelo and the likes of a John Ryder, to where John Ryder, who would be easily the best opponent on a David Benavidez's resume, look at how, you know, just look at the skill gap between them. Look at the talent gap between them. It's night and day. And when I say day, I'm talking, when I say night and day, I mean it's daytime with Canelo and it's 30 days a night with John Ryder. You know what I'm saying? And people are saying because he wasn't able to go out there and outline dude in chalk, that he, you know, he's regressed or he's washed or whatever, which I don't too much care about that. You know, it happens. And sometimes if I just, like, I don't really recall Juan Montiel, like I can't remember me really wilding on Jermall Charlo when he wasn't able to get rid of a Juan Montiel. I don't think I really wild on him for that. He sometimes the fighter just isn't gonna go. They're stubborn customers and they're not going. They're not folding. They're able to make it through. But the thing is, John Ryder, this dude's gonna keep kicking that ball over there. John Ryder has been in with some, you know, with some tough opposition. He's been in with tough opposition, and he's a stubborn dude. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm here, and you're gonna have to kill me in this ring. And y'all are just gonna have to, you know, face the facts that Brits are not no bitch ass dudes. They're not. They produce quality fighters over there, man. America with the xenophobia, just thinking that they have this, you know, they're just inadvertently better than these dudes or tougher than these dudes because they come from a place like America. That's just not the case. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Y'all know the slang. Yeah, y'all know the slogan. But anyways, I'm not necessarily, I can see why, like, I don't have a problem with admitting or saying that Canelo is showing signs of regression and depreciation as a fighter. I don't take issue with that. I honestly don't, because every fighter is gonna go through it. There's not one fighter who didn't depreciate as his career progressed. And when I say progressed, I mean just continue to, you know, just continue. We saw what Larry Holmes did to Muhammad Ali, and he got, you know, they hate him for that to this day. They hate him for that to this day. But Ali in there was just a shell of himself. It was just like, yo, man, you need to go on ahead and hang it up. B-Hop. Even Floyd, man, like, and that's another thing when you say signs of slippage. Floyd was showing, Floyd wasn't when Floyd fought Marcos Maidana the first and the second time, he looked vulnerable in there. He looked real vulnerable. Now, I think in the first fight, he fought in that manner by choice, with him standing in the pocket and just placing himself on the rope and just slipping and rolling, riding punches and weaving up under the shots, the hooks and everything. He chose to fight in that manner and let Marcos Maidana just work on it, you know, work in the pocket. He chose to fight like that. I have no doubt in my mind that he chose to fight like that. And he won the fight like that. But he did take a lot of punishment in that fight. Not significant punishment, but he got clipped a whole hell of a lot more. In that second fight, I forget what round it was, where Marcos Maidana landed big, but he did a dance walking back to that corner. Like, he didn't have his legs under him when he ate, you know, like after he ate that shot. That one, it was like, yo, eesh, that hurt. You dig what I'm saying? So, and then what happened? He went on to fight Manny Pacquiao, and he completely outclassed Manny Pacquiao. Then Andre Berto, you know, but it's just a level. It's levels to it. You know what I'm saying? Even when you look at how with Shane Mosley, how Shane Mosley was able to like. No, I don't think Floyd has been hit that hard since he fought Zab. I don't think up until that point he hadn't been hit that hard since he had fought Zab, because Zab technically dropped him. Shane Mosley buckled him twice with big shots, and he wasn't able to get him up out of there. And then of course Marcos Maidana did that, but in between those shots and in between the the slippage that we were seeing, he was still able to get in there and completely outclass his opposition. So I don't take issue with Canelo being in there, with people saying that Canelo is showing signs of slippage. All fighters go through that. But it's just the notion that he's there for the taking. I'm like, according to who? John Ryder is a quality operator in the ring. He sets up punches a lot better than someone like a David Benavidez, who does all the the fly. And I'm not saying that he beat David Benavidez. I'm not saying that at all. But there's certain attributes about David Benavidez that not David, but there's certain attributes about John Ryder that David Benavidez just doesn't have, like him being a southpaw and him knowing how to use that southpaw advantage to his advantage. David Benavidez doesn't have that at his disposal. David Benavidez doesn't use his feet to create angles and turn you on the inside. John Ryder can do that. He can do that. He can offset you. He's just a lot more crafty when it comes to setting up his punches. He's a lot more crafty in there. So just styles make fights. Ryder is a better boxer than David Benavidez from a tactician standpoint. There's nobody who can dispute that and be honest about it. If you're being honest about it, John Ryder is a better tactician and a better technician in the ring than someone like a David Benavidez. If you're coaching a fighter and you're telling them, y'all go watch one of these two, you want that fighter to look, resemble more of a John Ryder. Better defensive, prowess, keeps his hands up, uses his southpaw advantage to his advantage, crowds you in the pocket, nice power, been in there with better opposition. You would prefer your fighter to look like a John Ryder than a David Benavidez. So all in all, man, I'm not mad that they're saying, I'm not mad at Canelo, allegedly showing signs of regression. That doesn't bother me, because I feel like even with his regression, him in a depreciating state, he still completely outclasses the majority of the cats in the division. Man, not even the majority, all of them. Well, good catch, JoJo. When you look at, I think David Morrell, if David Morrell was a bit more seasoned, I don't know if he's been in a 10-rounder yet, but if David Morrell was a bit more seasoned, I'd like to see David Morrell in a fight with Canelo Alvarez, because I think he'd have a better chance in beating him than someone like a David Benavidez. I honestly do. Or, someone like a Christian Mabili or a Carlos Gongora. Those is cats that I'm like, yo, these dudes is official dudes, So I'm not mad that people are feeling like he's showing signs of regression, man. I just don't like when they're using that, his ability to not get rid of John Ryder as a reason to indict him when they didn't do it with David Benavidez. Who's the more thorough in their approach to a fight? They're both front foot dominant fighters. Canelo Alvarez fights off. He doesn't have a choice. He doesn't have the height. He's at a height disparity with all these other super middleweights. He has no other choice but to come forward. David Benavidez is a dude who collapses the pocket and doesn't like to use his natural advantages to his advantage. He doesn't like to pump his jab from the outside. He doesn't like the time you coming in. He doesn't like to do that shit. He doesn't like to walk you into shots. He does not like to do that. So, hold on, let me turn this shit down a little bit. Fuck, I forgot what I was saying just that fast. But, fuck, I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, he doesn't use his advantages. He doesn't use his natural size to his advantage. So they're both pressure fighters. And with them being pressure fighters, you look at a cat like Caleb Plant, who's a good outboxer. I think Caleb Plant gets knocked for, like, he has good feet and he has good defense. He has good feet and good defense and really good counterpunching. So for Canelo being the shorter dude to go in there and get rid of this man in 11 rounds, and David not being, I mean, these cats are so confused and just ridiculous with their sentiment that they would Caleb Plant was a cherry when it was time for Canelo to fight him. He was a cherry. And now he's, David was being praised for beating him. Oh, Canelo better stay away from him. Look at how David did Caleb. It's like, fam, he went 12 with him. When the dude was there for the taking, Canelo at least dropped John Ryder twice from what I'm hearing. I seen the highlights. Dropped him twice. Caleb was ready to go, bro. And I'm not about to allow you to use that bullshit. Yo, man, Kenny Baker. I'm not letting y'all use that shit. I refuse to. Your lack of a jab is why that dude was able to crowd you and wrap you up. And even after all that shit, by the time the mid rounds came around, the dude couldn't even wrap. He couldn't grab onto you because of how fatigued he was. So you still flying his head, and it's like it's not dropping him, and you hit him more than Canelo hit him, and you wasn't able to get rid of him, and you're being praised for that while Canelo was being castigated for fighting because it was a cherry pick. It's like it's just no winning with you cats, man, and it's just really ridiculous. So can I see a fighter of a certain ilk beating the Canelo in the now? Honestly, no, I just don't. I don't see anybody at super middleweight. I would like to say Christian Mabili or David Morrell or someone along there, but no, that's about it. Because I see skill in what it is that they do. I don't too much see that in David Benavidez. I just don't. And that's the dude that everybody is propagating. And even when it comes to David Morrell, I'm not so sure. Like, Canelo may not get to fight him. He's still making his bones. And they would just, at this point, they're just throwing names in the hat that he has to fight him. It's always a new name attached to him that he has to fight, otherwise he's ducking. It's a ridiculous sentiment, man. It's absurd, though. So I don't too much care that, he's depreciating. That's life. We get old, we transition into the next phase of reality, whatever that is. Only those there can tell you what it is. And I'm not in a rush to get there, so I don't want to know what it is. But that's what happens when that's what happens. That's life. That's life. We all get old. And he's, 20 years in the game, damn near 60 fights. You got to think, man, like these cats nowadays, these dudes ain't even getting 20 fights into their career and they expecting a certain person. You haven't worked enough. You ain't worked hard enough for that, man. You got goddamn, I'm gonna get on Boots next, man. But just people who, they're expecting certain purses or whatever the case may be, and A-side treatment and all this extra shit. And it's like that, that's look at what's going on with Bud and Spence. Look at what's going on with Bud and Spence. There's no reason why this fight should be taking this long. Bud is my age. I'm 36. There's no reason why these dudes should not have fought already. Why are y'all trying to wait this shit out until July? Spence has already been out of the ring a year. And I've even heard December because of the Saudis, man. It's like, y'all got to stop. This dude Canelo has 60 fights and he's outpacing everybody. Gervonta is the only fighter that I can think of that has 2 fights this year. 2 fights. Everybody else is just stagnant, man. Because everybody wants this presidential treatment. Canelo has his dates already set when he's going to fight, and he's outpacing these people. He's outpacing everybody, man. So even that right there, you're overexerting yourself because you're fighting more than everybody. So I'm just saying, man, is he showing signs of depreciation as a fighter? It's a possibility. I'll know for sure when I go and I watch the fight. I'll know for sure when I go watch the fight. But even with him showing signs of depreciation, he still leagues better than everybody in the division. He still leagues. Everybody's real hyped off the David Morrell knockout. Like, yo, man, nah. If y'all don't know the PBC by now, y'all ought to know they're gonna recycle older fighters for them to go in there to be the sacrificial lamb. Look at what they did with Yuriorkis Gamboa and David Lemieux and all these cats. They bring these cats around to simply showcase the fighter that they're trying to promote. And that generates a buzz around them. Gamboa is being used as a combo dummy. So that doesn't, nah. That's what they do. So him, you know, Falcao was a sacrificial lamb going into that fight. That's how that goes. So I'm not too much sold on David Morrell as being, you know, being able to beat Canelo in the now. And that's just how I feel about that, man. So is he showing signs of regression? Yeah, I don't doubt it, but that's just life. And even with those regressions, as I said before, my intelligence begins where yours peaks at. So when it's a shame that with him coming down off of a high, that's when you catch him. That's when you catch him. Because you're not like what Max Kellerman, when he would say about Tim Bradley and Manny Pacquiao. Manny, what'd he say? Something about one of them happened to tread water in order to keep up. I think it was Tim Bradley just had to, or Manny Pacquiao just had to. He said it was some wild analogy that he used, and he was right. That's Canelo and the rest of the division. 32 years old is not old, but 60 fights is, and even with those fights, just how he's looking, I gotta go and I gotta watch the fight. He's better than everybody else in the division. He's better. He's better than Benavidez. Everybody keep talking about I'm gonna edge Canelo. I'll edge Canelo in that fight. To me, when you edge somebody in a fight, that's saying I see vulnerabilities in your game that the other one may be able to exploit, but he's a lot more thorough in what he is than what he does than what it is that you do. That's not what I see with David Benavidez. I don't see an edge. I see a dominant performance. And that's just how that goes, man. So it is what it is. He's showing signs of regression, so the fuck what? That's how it goes with, with cats who get up there in age and they have a lengthy career. Let's see another great after Canelo when he retires. So, yeah, I'm hoping to watch the fight this weekend, and I'm gonna most definitely come back and give a breakdown on that fight. But until then, y'all be easy. I'm outie, brody. Losers.